It is the fourth model introduced in the 2024 Go Nagai collaboration with Meteorot S, highlighting the design of the original Shin Getter Robo. It is DYN03 Getter, with a kit of Frenzy, Clock Rage, Charge Governor, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Trap Buster, which passively removes any active traps placed on the user's side of the field every time they complete a heat phase and is applicable. Now, as the original design and the original Shin Getter Robo before Shin Getter, actually the red one, became very well known, this one of course had a very hard backstory which really helped it set itself apart, losing 2 of its 3 pilots and basically being charred black from that tragic event. It only makes it clear that this one heralds a very dark, very powerful, and very imposing presence while it's on the field, specializing in speed and basically putting itself in a fury state to attack any foe that comes across it with the most swiftest and most brutal of prejudice. Frenzy on the head part is a new skill being introduced into the game that is a support skill. Upon activation, it will buff the user's power, success, heat, and cool stats. Basically, all the stats except armor, of course, on both arms and the head part by 50%. However, at the cost of this, in addition to buffing everything by 50%, it will debuff the user's resist stats, both melee resist and shooting resist, and the user's evade stat by 80%. So this basically will turn Getter in particular into more or less the definition of a glass cannon, putting all the chips on the table for raw power, raw strength, and raw speed in trade of survivability and general overall balance, basically throwing caution to the wind. Right arm of Clock Rage is a relatively new skill we've started seeing more and more often these days, but explaining it briefly, it gets a damage bonus relative to how much faster the target is to Black Getter. So that means if the target is faster, it does mean it's going to be dealing more damage and basically punish them for having speed to their advantage. This is even more so aggressive than it was before, thanks to a buff it got a pretty good number of weeks ago, where it now officially has pierce damage as a conventional attacking skill. So this is going to be a very good way to punish foes that like to put an emphasis on speed. And in a game of competitive speed in the current meta, this is going to be a pretty nasty skill to have at your disposal. Charge Governor on the left arm, and the other new skill that Black Getter is introducing to the game is a melee skill that actually introduces a brand new negative ailment to the game on top of that. Upon attacking the target, it will inflict them with a Charge Governor status, as it's called, and while afflicted with this status, the enemy in question has their charge gain halved. This means if they try to charge Metaforce or get any kind of passive Metaforce bonus from their medal or from a skill or a Meteorot bonus, whatever it is, 50% of that will be what they're getting instead. Now, there's no real telling how far that's going to extend, such as, say, full charge only giving 50%, or Metaforce charge only giving you 15 instead of 30, or whatever the case may be. But also currently in the competitive metagame where Metaforce Reliance is a very powerful skill to make sure that you have, especially with Metaforce Sustain, this is going to be a really, really good way to curb that really quickly and ensure that if they are going to make use of such skills, such as Hyper Beam, Ghost, Ghost Shot, Beam Sword, Microwave, or anything else of the like that is a Metaforce Sustain-based attack, Black Getter makes it very clear that if they're going to use it, they're going to have to work really, really hard to make sure that they can keep that charge and maintain it while they're afflicted with the Charge Governor status. Biped Legs means that Black Getter will have pretty solid coverage across most terrains and generally very wide varied terrain compatibility, and stats across the board are actually not too shabby. He's got a base mobility of 972, almost 1,000, which definitely will put him above most other conventional biped legs, and on the really high end of base speed, which is very, very nice. An evade of 975, almost 1,000, isn't too shabby either, which means he can most certainly keep a solid base chance of dodging or grazing incoming attacks. A base melee resist of 1117 is pretty nice too. He can hold his own up close and personal decently well, but a shoot resist of 551 is most certainly going to be a pain point for him, as this means anyone trying to take pot shots at him from afar will have a relatively easy time taking him down as long as they can keep him at a distance. However, something else to keep in mind is the fact as well of Trap Buster, which will passively remove traps as listed. So basically, if they try to use any kind of trap, this includes melee trap, shoot trap, disturbance, or anything else of the like, just by him completing a heat phase, he will be able to forcibly remove it so that it doesn't affect him or any of his other allies as long as his legs remain on the field. However, there is another thing to mention, and this is honestly one reason why, despite this, I still have to rate him as a pure set score a pretty solid 7 out of 10. His kit synergizes as well as a pretty solid speed Punisher based kind of kit between Clock Rage and a charge punish with Charge Governor. But Frenzy is going to be where a lot of his base power and a lot of his base stats come into play. While it will most certainly buff both of his arms very, very impressively at 50% to basically all the numbers you see here, that 80% debuff to his resist stats and his evade stat is going to be a really, really dangerous caveat in this case, as it means any hit that hits him is going to land no matter what, and there's a good chance it's probably going to cripple him. But given that he plays a very solid rage state mechanic kind of fight between Frenzy and both of his arms, this is kind of par for the course, and it does kind of synergize well with the original source material. Just bear in mind, if you are planning to use Black Getter as a pure set, just make sure that the defender on the field is of course faster than him, so that he can remain covered and protected the entire time and not have to worry about getting stabbed in the back. As mixed parts, I do have to rate him equally at a 7 out of 10 for these same reasons. While Frenzy can be something you can most certainly capitalize on if you want to make use of that rage mechanic with any of your nukers, especially ones that you can use almost readily from turn 2 onwards, such as, say, as examples, Max Shot, Long Shot, Slash, or even anything else of the like. These are going to be very solid skills that you can make use of with Frenzy, as long as you can cover for the debuff that you get to your resist stats that basically will guarantee any hit that hits you is going to basically kill you.